Good day, my name is Samuel Peter, and I am a 3MTT fellow. This is my project representing my final capstone project after completing the cybersecurity learning phase of the program. For my final capstone project, I was assigned CS12 Wi-Fi Security Assessment Office. The problem context that Office Wi-Fi can have security weaknesses that expose an organization to unauthorized access and other security risks. So the objective of my project is to assess the security posture of a control office Wi-Fi environment, identify security weaknesses, document evidence, and recommend appropriate remediation measures and verify the effectiveness of the security improvement. So to conduct this assessment safely and ethically, I created the control laboratory environment using my personal own Airtel Wi-Fi router as the simulated office wireless network. Here's my laptop, my mobile phone, my Airtel router, and my Kali Linux. My laptop, my mobile phone, and Kali Linux assessment environment are all connected to the control network. So these are authorized devices within the scope of the assessment. Here's my network architecture. And this is my assessment methodology. My assessment follow a structured cybersecurity methodology. I will first establish the scope, which is I just did, and baseline configuration. I will perform network and service discovering, assess the wireless security configuration, identify and prioritize findings, implement appropriate security hardening, and finally, and then I'll perform verification to determine whether the identified weakness have been addressed. So this is the my Airtel router interface. So if you look at here, this is my local IP address of the router. So next I'm going to identify my Kali IP address. So I will do IP address. So from here, this is my Kali IP address. So I'm going to test the connectivity, the connection. So I'm going to ping the router IP to Kali and in Kali to see if there is connection between them. So from what I have here, there is connection working between them. So after everything, this is how my network connectivity is. So next we are going to perform a basic port discovery. So I'm going to use mmap tools and map 12.168.1.1. So we now have this port. These are the port to discover open. That is port 53 TCP, port 80 TCP, and port 443 TCP. So next I'm going to run the service and function detection. I'll still use mmap SV M92. So here you see you have port, this service, and then version. So domain, you have RTCS and else, SSL HTTPS. Okay, so now I'm going to access the router web management services and TLC configuration. The purpose for this is to determine how securely the router administrative interface is exposed within the authorized laboratory network. So first I'll confirm the HTTPS. So I'll run mmap and okay, now mmap plus p then 443, which is the port, and then press enter. So I have this. So if you look at it, this assessment is show that maybe previous assessment identified that TCP port 443 was open. Now my confirming here now is that the router HTTPS management service is also is reachable. So next I'm going to inspect the TLC certificate. So I'm going to run nmap again, sorry, nmap, then this time around script, then SSL, down /certif, then /p, and then the IP address. So if you look at the assessment, as assessment identify an RSA 4096 bit public key. This is 4096. This is it, public key. And then also it also identify SHA 256 base signature algorithm. So the certificate also appear to be self-assigned. So now, as this, a self-assigned certificate is not automatically a vulnerability in a local router environment, but it is important to document because browser cannot establish trust through a conventional public certificate authority. So now I'm going to inspect the HTTPS response header. So I'm using this command. So if you look at what I highlight, which is F-frame option denied, so this help prevent the page from being embedded in frames, reducing certain click hijacking risks. And then the S-content type option, which is non-sniff, this prevent browser from MIM sniffing responses. And then strict transport security, this instruct compatible browser to use HTTPS for future connection. So now I'm going to compare the HTTP and HTTPS. So I'm going to use this command. So the TCP port 80 is also reachable. So I'm testing the HTTP service to determine how the router handle unencrypted HTTP requests. And so the HTTP service is reachable, but the tested HTTP method was not implemented also. So further examination is required to determine whether the HTTP is used for normal administration or only for another router function. So now I'm going to check the supported TLS version. So I'm going to use this command nmap. So what I'm trying to achieve here is enumerating the TLS protocol and cipher suite supported by the HTTPS service. So this helps determine whether the router uses modern cryptography protocols or support isolate configuration. So from this, the TLS assessment identify support for TLS 1.2 and 1.3 with strong cipher suite and an overall Nmap rating of A. So next I'm going to assess the authentication mechanism configured on my router network and determine whether stronger security options are available. So the 2.4 gig wireless is configured to use WPA2 PS2 authentication. So this provides a protected wireless authentication and is significantly stronger than an open wireless network. So the router also support all this. You have WPA, WPA3, WPA2. So the wireless support all of this also. But also all this is providing option for a stronger wireless authentication. So I will document this option before deciding on the appropriate hardening configuration. So next I'm going to access the Wi-Fi protected setup, that is WPS configuration on both wireless band and determine whether it introduces unnecessary security risks. So from this you see that the 2.4 GHz WPS configuration is currently unable. So this means WPS is available as an additional mechanism for connecting or configuring wireless clients. So the 5G WPS configuration is also enabled. Therefore, WPS is currently active on both wireless band. So the WPS is designed to simplify wireless device enrollment, but it introduces an additional authentication mechanism. So depending on the WPS implementation and method available, so this can increase the wireless attack surface. So for an office environment where strong wireless security is a priority, disabling WPS is generally recommended unless there is a specific operational requirement for it. So I'm not attempting to exploit WPS. Rather, I'm documenting the configuration weaknesses, and I will address it during the remediation phase. So after reviewing the available wireless security setting, so the router interface does not expose a separate ciphered or encryption field. Therefore, I cannot claim a specific cipher based solely on the WP2 PS key setting. So now I'm going to check Kali wireless interface. So IW and then IW config. So I'm going to disabling the BPS 2.4G, then save. So if you look at two of them have been enabling the 5G and the 2.4G. So the confirmed WPS finding has now been remediated. So in the next, I will perform post-remediation verification to confirm that the wireless network remains operational and that the security change was successfully applied. So after performing the post-remediation testing confirmed that the authorized network remained operational and that the router continued to be reachable from the assessment workstation. So after everything, here are my remediation final result recommendation and final closing. The exact wireless cipher could not be independently verified because the Kali virtual machine did not have a physical wireless adapter. Then the final result overall, the confirmed WPS security finding was successfully remediated. No remaining medium, high, or critical findings were identified within the scope of this of the assessment. So the final recommendation for a production office environment. So I recommend evaluating WPA3, maintaining strong administrators credential, so keeping the firewall updated, restricting management access, monitoring connected devices, and conducting a periodic wireless security assessment always. So at the end, this is my complete the technical security assessment and hardening phase of my CS12 Wi-Fi security assessment office project. Thank you.